today. It always depends who I've got at the other end, how good the technology is and how good mine is. Morning, everyone. Welcome to another Talking Tuesday. Today I am here with the brilliant Darren from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, who's going to tell us all about the amazing work that they've got going on here in Hartlepool. Morning, Darren.
Morning, Sarah. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, no problem at all. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thanks. Just trying to occupy the time and keep busy while we're all locked away. But yeah, there's plenty to be getting on with. And
I was going to say, I'm sure that's not an issue you've got.
It's trying to find the time to keep that structure in your day, I think, because when you're just at home, you just tend to just flood into your work, but then you've got to remember to take breaks and not burn out. And yeah,
I keep getting into trouble for that one. So, for people who don't know, Darren, what is the Joseph Rowntree Foundation?
So the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, who employ us, are a huge employer. They have over 500 sort of employees, mainly based in York. They're a social change organisation, charity, and obviously they're rooted in solving poverty in the UK. That's their aim. And the Hartlepool Action Lab is a Joseph Rowntree Foundation project that is funded by GRF and funded by the National Lottery. And our role is to solve poverty in Hartlepool. So we work to create solutions and sort of bring as many people together as we can to find solutions out of poverty in the town.
So pretty big task then. Obviously, Hartlepool has quite high levels of deprivation, as we know.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the statistics is when you look at them in isolation, and Hartlepool always tends to perform, on the lower spectrum of all the measures that they have. But I think when you actually go out and speak to people in the town, as you usually know, our carers, the feeling and the emotion in the town is completely different to what the statistics will tell you. So for all we see that, there's high levels of deprivation, there's massive sort of community spirit that grows underneath that in the town. And it's sort of my role as the communicator within the Action Lab is to try and tell the story of that and to shift the narrative away from that, glim.
The negative.
Yeah, and it's not negative. It's not a negative town. I think when you look at other places that are in the same situation as us, Hartlepool has such a, there's so many assets around that support people, and it's just about highlighting them and sort of.
I think COVID, obviously, the last year has not been a good year for anyone, but I think it has highlighted that community spirit within the town, most definitely. I mean, we've seen it, just for example, the Given Tree, and the response to that, just not in the town, but across the UK and across even the, further afield than that. And I think that's definitely come to show that there is community spirit and people do care and they do want to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what with our work with trying to solve poverty, it's the same principle. It's about people pulling together, and it's a problem that we all have to solve. And it's about, the things that we faced through COVID, such as isolation, not being able to go out and see our family. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people have, wondered where the next meals are going to be coming from. There's quite a lot of fear that's come with that. And people who live in poverty often face those same issues every day. So we can all sort of, even people who've never experienced poverty, if you've experienced isolation, then there's parallels that run in between the two. And if we can use the energy that we've created in our communities to support each other through COVID, even things such as clapping for the NHS and that kind of thing, it all creates energy for people to step outside their door and see what's going on. If we can use that in our sort of work to solve poverty in the town, it puts us in a much better position than we ever could have been in, So, and that's what we need to take from COVID. I think we need to take the positives and move forward with them. We've lost a lot over the last 12 months, and it will be quite easy to sort of think about that and let that fear take over. But ultimately, we've gained a lot as well, and we've shown that the town has compassion for each other, and we need to sort of tie that together and use that energy to support one another to find ways out of poverty. And we're approaching a cliff edge. It feels as the £20 uplift in universal credit ends at the same time that furlough ends. There's a high chance that a lot of people will start to face hardship, but we have done a lot of work in the town to make sure that our networks are connected, and we have a lot of interpersonal relationships between all the different departments, the third sector, the private sector, the statutory services, so that we can try and support as many people in the town. It's just about creating that environment where people feel comfortable enough to ask for help, and that's the big thing at the moment.
And get past that stigma as well, which obviously it's nothing to be ashamed of, especially as it has hit so many people over the last year, people who've never been in that situation before, and it is a barrier that we need to sort of try and knock down. And I know that's something that you guys are working on. Just a reminder, if anyone has any questions for Darren, please feel free to pop them in the comments, and then we'll get them answered for you. So what are you guys up to at the moment then, Darren? What sort of projects have you got going on?
So the way the Action Lab works is, what we'll do is that we have sort of flagship events which is what we call the Action Labs, where we'll draw as many people together as we can who have the energy and the will to want to create solutions out of poverty. And we essentially lock them in a room and get them to stay in that room until we find solutions to the issues. So Action Lab 1 brought out sort of 3 projects, which was Poorly Time Exchange, who are now doing amazing things and have branched off onto their own, and they've developed into the Emporium and all of that great stuff. But that started off as an Action Lab project, which was around bolstering up and creating a solid voluntary sector in the town, which is now, again, it's absolutely brilliant to see that the voluntary sector is so strong in Hartlepool. We've got the Housing Heroes, which is a project which supports young care leavers. They're supported in the acquisition of a property. They're supported in how to maintain a tenancy once they actually leave the care system. And that project's been running since Action Lab 1. We've got our Stronger Neighbourhoods work, which is what we're doing in currently working in the Cornwall Street, Oxford Road area and the ladder streets in between. And we launched that with our Oxfest Street Party, which was 2 years ago now. And from that, the work sort of developed, and we're now working with the Officers for the Police and Crime Commissioner and Cleveland Police to create the safer streets, and to tie in all them community assets. And this is what I'm talking about the communities in the town, where we can think from the outside looking in that the community's not there, but when you actually go and speak to people, it is there. That community spirit's there. It's just about giving people the platform and the agency and the energy to step outside of their door and want to take part in the community and improve everybody's prospects. And then we've been working with Hartley Power and the Get Connected, and there's a huge collaboration going on with Get Connected. It's about addressing the digital divide, which is an issue that was around before COVID, people not being able to access the internet and things like that, but it was exacerbated massively by COVID. As all the services went online because we weren't able to meet face to face, there was a lot of people who were on the wrong side of the digital divide and became socially digitally isolated, and we've done a lot of work to support that. And Hartley Power have now become a broadband provider in the town, which has also went on to create jobs. So we've been working to address the issue of digital poverty, but also there's been local jobs that have generated from that as well. So it's just going from strength to strength. And then the last one is social action leaders. So part of our funding from the National Lottery is with the place-based social action scheme. And what we look for is leaders in the communities who have the energy and capacity to want to set up a project that supports their community. So we've got a playgroup with a difference over at Kilmarnock Road, who support parents to have a place where they can go with their children and have a chat and have a natter. But at the same time, we have support services who will attend. So while the children are playing, the parents can be speaking to a benefit advisor or someone about how to switch to different energy tariffs or smart meters and stuff like that. So it's like a all-around care that the person can get, but they don't feel like they're in an environment where it's a very casual environment for them. And we find that we get more organic conversations that way. There's a back to work project with Woodturn and Hartlepool. So Dennis is doing some fantastic work over at
I
Woodturn
love
and
that stuff
Hartlepool.
there. It's amazing.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And he's just set up, he's got a lathe now where you can support people who are in a wheelchair. So he can
Wow.
raise and lower the lathe. And he's just looking to find sort of people to support him with that. But his project is around getting people into work. And, he's found that he used to work with veterans over at Phoenix House at Catterick, and finding that when people who have, things like PTSD or stress anxiety, when they start to work on a lathe, it clears their mind and they're able to then start, that wellness starts to come in the well-being, and they're able to sort of start speaking about their problems. And he's been able to tap into that and do some really good work. But obviously COVID sort of put the brakes on that for now, but hopefully we can get back up and running with it soon as. But we are still looking for people, if you want to be social action leaders, if anybody wants to, create a project that can support their community, there's a small fund that we can put to the projects. And obviously there's a dedicated worker within the Action Lab who will support a person to create the project. And then once the project's up and running, we then look at ways that we can become a constituted group, or how can we sort of make it sustainable so that it becomes an asset to the community long term.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think this is something obviously we've learned over the last year. And it is about finding out what the community want and the community need. It's not about telling them what they want and what they need. It's about actually speaking to the people and getting their point of view. It's all very well us sitting there and saying, oh, they need this, 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 and this. But would they use it, or have they got a better idea of how something can work? And we do that with our carers. We have a carers forum every three months, where we sit down with them and say, right, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, what could we do better? And it's really, there's no good just telling people what they need.
Yeah. My work is about also helping people to talk about poverty. It's something, it's a swear word at the moment, that P word.
Yeah.
We don't speak about that. We don't like to speak about money. But it's an issue that a lot of us face, and it's like you say, it's not something to be ashamed of. We know we're working sort of underneath all the different sectors in the town to try to address the different levers of poverty. So when I say levers of poverty, I mean things that sort of push people into poverty and they're able to pull people out. And the four main levers of poverty, what we would say from the Joseph Rowntree report, is secure housing, good wages, secure employment, and a strong benefit system that meets the needs of people who fall into crisis and that kind of thing, and act as that, maybe as a safety net, but it's more of a platform to assist people back out of poverty. So what we don't want is poverty should never be a destination. It should just be a short stay for people who fall, and that's fine. We will all face crisis at some point in our lives, and a lot of us are. If I lost my job tomorrow, I'd be one or two wages away from having to ask for help. And
completely. I mean, I'm in a stable job. I've got my own home, but I'm a single parent. If the worst happened, I'd be stuck completely.
Yeah, and there's so many people in that, especially now through the furlough scheme and that kind of thing, and it can often feel like poverty is too big of an issue to solve. But we all need to pull together to get behind the changes that can support people living in poverty, and create that environment and understand what poverty is and how we can sort of support each other to get out of poverty. It's not there's some simplistic views of how you would get out of poverty for people who've never experienced it, and then they're not helpful, and they're not realistic either. So we do a lot of work with the homeless community in Hartlepool, and the one thing that I always try to explain to people is when you're going through life. So let's say we look to build a toolkit as we get through life. And that toolkit's developed through, our parental support that teaches us how to deal with situations. It's through positive role models. It's through, going through the education system and finishing your education. And all of those things support us to be able to, maintain a good way of life. And it's not always the case for everybody, but those are the sort of tools that we need to get through life, and often there's a lot of people don't get those same tools, and that creates such complex issues for that person who, lacks, even if it's just one of those tools, it can create such complexities that trying to answer those complexities with simplicity, it just won't work. And we try to act as the sort of go between, or the glue that holds it all together, and try and address poverty as in, at a personal level. And everybody's experience of poverty will be different, and everybody's, ability to get out of poverty will be different. But that's not to say that poverty is a destination and poverty is something that can't be solved. It's just a different solution for each person, and that's where we try to sit.
That's something that we see a lot, obviously, with our carers and our sort of young carers, young adult carers. They go through, obviously, the school because they have to, but then they get to that point where they've left school, which is compulsory, and they'll sort of fall into that caring role, and they don't necessarily go on and get the qualifications, and then it becomes a circle.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we talk about the trapdoors, the trapdoor effect of poverty. So, if you imagine a trapdoor, it goes underneath your feet, you fall into it. It's very, very difficult for you to then get back out of that as the trapdoor closes, and we need support, and we need guidance, and often that support needs to be a very specific way for that specific person. And if one link in that chain's missing, then that person can sort of fall back into that trapdoor for, generations sometimes. So we try, and Hartlepool has been absolutely amazing, which a lot of people may not have seen, but it's been absolutely amazing in its response on an organizational level to create that environment for us to be able to support more people. So I know we've worked with yourselves at Carers, and there's so many organizations, even the local authority, have all wanted to create stronger networks between the voluntary sector, and everybody who has a part to play, have created this network across the town so that we can support more people. It's just about creating the environment where people feel like they have the confidence to ask for help now. And that's something where we all play a part. So if we look at ourselves, and even though the language that we use in our own lives, and the way that we use our social media, and the way that we sort of communicate about people, plays a massive part in how our social groups will see people who need support. So, if we take a group of 10 friends, there's a high probability that one person within that group will at some point in their life need to ask for support from a service, if not more, probably more. And if the other people in that social circle on social media, and mocking people who are asking for support, or posting messages which reinforce negative narratives, it creates the environment where people don't want to ask for support and help because they don't want to risk being ridiculed, even though they wouldn't be. Friends won't ridicule friends, but if you're on social media and you're using your social media in a negative way against other people, it prevents the people who are closest to you from feeling confident enough to ask for support. And that's something that I would implore everybody to think: how do we use social media? What do we say? What do we share? And how do we share
I know there was a lot of it over the whole Meghan Markle thing quite recently in the interview, and sort of people commenting on her mental health and things like that, and sort of, like you said, ridiculing for that. And then quite a few people pointed out and just said, well, your friends are never going to come to you if that's the way you act around it. They're never going to come and speak to you if they need help. And obviously, if it was your friend, you would be completely different, but they're not going to feel comfortable coming to you.
No, and often it is just such throwaway comments. People, we don't appreciate the power of words, and words can be so powerful. And people who are in crisis will often hang on to that. They'll create their own meaning behind what people are saying, and we need to make sure that what we say, and it's not always possible to always be positive about things. It's just about thinking about the way that we say things, and how we say them, and how they can be construed by people who are close to us. And if someone is needing support, it's easy to sort of share something onto Facebook and say, if anyone needs support, I'm here. But ultimately, the that environment that you create is created by all the other messages that you have and that you share and the way that you speak. And that's something that we can all work on. And it's not just about our own social circles, it's about our communities as well. We all want to live in a community where we feel safe and there's community spirit and we know our neighbours and all that kind of thing. And that's created by us, the way that we interact with our neighbours, saying hi, if you're able to support people with their bins, or just by having conversations with neighbours, creates the environment where everybody feels able to improve their prospects, and that's a big thing for the town. I think Hartlepool is very resilient to poverty, and that's why it can often feel like poverty isn't that big of an issue in the town, and it's that resilience that makes Hartlepool great. It makes it a fantastic place to live, but it's also that resilience that we need to make sure that we channel in the right direction so that we become resilient together.
Definitely. So what advice would you give to someone, Darren, who is struggling at the moment financially? What would you say to them? Where should they go for help?
I mean, there's many different places you can go. So the DWP is a good place to start. So the job centre, the Department for Work and Pensions, if anyone's claiming universal credit, they have workers in there who can sort of access sort of different funds. There's the Westview Advice and Resource Centre, who are currently doing telephone consultations, who can support with budget and advice. They can support with universal credit claims, or if anyone, if you want to have your benefits reviewed, they're a good place to go. There's Claire at Heart, who's doing some fantastic work, and Claire can support people to access benefits and that kind of. And that
is that Advice at Heart?
So, yeah, Advice at Heart. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So there's all different channels to go to, and if it feels a little bit too scary for people, that's where the Action Lab sits. So if anyone wants to contact us at the Action Lab, you can go onto our website, which is hartlepoolactionlab.org.uk, or contact me. And my contact details are on the website, or if you want to share them on this video, that's fine. And what we'll do is we'll support a person to actually go to appointments. So if it's causing anxiety for a person to sort of step inside of a building, which it can sometimes, it can feel scary to step inside the civic centre. If you're wanting some support and wanting someone to go along to a meeting with you and do what we would call a warm handover, where we hand over person to person, then we can support with that. It's not that we offer that service where we would go to appointments all the time. It's just that initial, breaking down that barrier of stepping in the building. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good service. We do something similar with our carers, or at least that was the plan to before lockdown hit. And that's sort of supposed to be my role in sort of being that sort of handhold and that first step to get a sort of our carers who are lonely and isolated and getting them out into the community, into activities. But being able to do that and going into what can be really scary meetings, that's really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had conversations with people who wanted to access Hartlepool Mind, and the great work that they're doing over Hartlepool Mind, and sometimes it's just the building that stops them. So I think what that then leads to is it sort of creates anxiety for the person who's missed the appointment, and it's also created a missed appointment for Hartlepool Mind, and they don't want that. And if we can sort of help people to get through the door, then that's exactly what we want to do, and support the sort of great services and organisations that are already available in the town, and highlighting them and making sure that more people are aware of the support that's available.
Yeah, and that's obviously what these Talking Tuesdays are all about, letting people know what is out there, even though they have to listen to me waffle on every week, but I think they are quite useful.
Yeah.
So me and Darren sit in a meeting every couple of weeks, which is for different members of our voluntary community sector. So there's loads of different groups, and they're all doing amazing work at the moment. And it gives us a chance every fortnight to sit down and find out what's going on, and what support is out there, which is we find really, really beneficial because there is such amazing work going on in Hartlepool. What's next for you guys, Darren? What can you tell us about? Is there anything coming up?
Yeah, so we've got Get Connected is on the way now, and what we're going to do is we're going to work with the adult social care team around care delivery and see if we can support some elderly people with technology, and see if we can use that in an innovative way to support people in their lives. So things such as smart speakers and that kind of thing. We've got the work that's going on over at Cornwall Street and the Oxford Road area with Stronger Neighbourhoods. That's, like I said, that's developing with the community as we speak. And we've also got we're working alongside the Apple Collective, which is the Addressing Poverty Through Lived Experience Collective, which we're a member organisation of. And it's a national collective of organisations who are led by lived experiences of poverty, and we run campaigns with, we write letters to the Metro Mayors and the government to address the digital divide, and we've just relaunched our campaign to have digital access seen as a human right, and as a bridge to human rights, so that a house. What we know now is broadband is as important to a household as gas and electricity is.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that it's accessible for everybody, and that's what we're trying to sort of campaign for and create a national movement so that more people can get better connected, and we can see more people on the digital, addressing the digital divide. Because there was a study by Lloyds Bank a couple of years ago now, and they found that people who were better digitally connected were up to £300 a year better off than those who were on the other end of the scale. And that was just through being able to access, like insurance online, all the different sort of deals that we can access online. And £300 a year, it might not sound like a lot for some people, but for someone who's living in poverty, it's a lot of money, and it's quite a lot of money for most people. So there's a lot of money that can be saved.
Is that all just through like paperless billing and being able to sort of compare insurance and things like that?
Yeah, and being able to sort of do access things like the price comparison websites and all that kind of thing. And you can save a lot of money by doing that, and you can get onto better tariffs online, and you can get better deals on. If you're buying stuff online, if you're doing shopping online, you can sometimes get better deals, and they worked it out at about £300 a year better off, which is crazy. Which is amazing.
And especially as well, obviously universal credit's all online now as well, isn't it? So sort of being able to be able to get that access, it's vital.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not something that's going to go back after COVID.
No.
Digital access and the way that we've been able to work now has enabled us to make sure that we can access a lot more people, and I don't think that's going to snap back to just face-to-face meetings for a lot of organisations. We have found new ways of working, and the digital divide is going to be something that we need to address very, very quickly, because technology is becoming a big part of all of our lives, and it's important that it is all of our lives. It's not just a certain, portion of the community who can afford digital access. It needs to be all of us together, because it is such a big issue, and such an issue that can, provide a person with so many solutions. If they can become better digitally connected, you can access training, you can access, better social security, all sorts of things you can get through being better digitally connected. So hopefully that's something we can address.
Oh, it's amazing work you're doing. Honestly, it's so amazing. I understand there's a job going. Do you want to talk a little bit about that in case anyone's interested?
Yeah, so we're currently doing the paperwork now, so it's not quite advertised at the moment, but we're looking for a social action leadership worker to sort of sit above the projects that we've got. So the projects that we had with the person who we had on the team, they've moved on, and now we need to fill that role. So hopefully we can find someone who has, that wants to support projects across the town, who wants to work with. There's Caroline, so we've got 2 posts, but we want to find people who can support people in their communities and support the projects that sit above that. So hopefully, if anyone is looking for employment in that sector, then keep an eye on our social media and website, and we'll be advertising them soon.
Yeah, you've got to have the passion. As you can see, Darren's definitely very passionate, and I know that the rest of the team over there are as well. And honestly, the work that they do is absolutely fantastic. It's amazing what they've done, not just over the past year, but going back as far as Oxfest and things like that. And it's brilliant. It really is, and it all does all come back to community and the sense of belonging that people do have in Hartlepool. And we do, I know we've said it before, but we do get portrayed quite negatively quite often, and it's
Yeah.
not the case at all.
Yeah, no, we don't see that either. And the one other thing that I just wanted to mention quickly was the Hartlepool Food Network, which is one of our projects, or a project that we support, but they're doing absolutely amazing things at the moment. And just over the past 12 months, they've been able to recirculate £45,000 worth of food that was
Wow.
surplus from donations from supermarkets and places like that, which have been fed back into community projects and individuals who have been sort of facing issues. But £45,000 over the past 12 months during COVID it's just been absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I think great work from them.
So that the Hartlepool Network, that then Darren, how does that work? Do they then give that to different sort of community groups, like the different ones that we see throughout the week? So there's various different places that people can go during the week if they need food, isn't it? And
Yeah.
does that food all, or a lot of that food come from there?
The food network is for organisations and services who support individuals. So it's not so much for individuals to access. It's for people who support individuals. So different projects. So we have, there's church groups, there's schools, there's a network of community fridges across the town who access their own donations as well. But yeah, it's if there's people who are working in projects in the town who are supporting people with food provision, then they can contact us and become registered with the food network, and then obviously access the different donations that come in. So there's a different donation every day of the week from local organisations and services in the town, such as Greggs, Asda, all the sort of major supermarkets. But yeah, there's quite a lot of food comes through there, and it gets recirculated out.
Oh, that's amazing. It really is fantastic work. He's doing an amazing job. Is there anything else you want to mention, Darren, that we haven't covered? I know you have got loads going on.
Yeah, it's trying to
I
sort
know
of
it's
condense
putting
it
you on
all
the
down.
spot, isn't it?
The one thing is a sort of project that I've been doing at the moment is working around avoiding fragmenting our messaging around poverty. So if anyone's using social media at the moment, and it can be easy to take poverty and condense it into the different groups. So you've got food poverty, you've got fuel poverty, digital poverty. All of those issues are caused by and can be solved by addressing the issue that is poverty. So we would try to keep our messaging concise, and if anybody is wanting to talk about how we talk about poverty, then yeah, just you can contact us anytime, and we'll have that conversation to see if we can start developing a shared language across the town, which is something we've started to do, just so that there's no ambiguity and there's no misunderstandings around the messages that we're trying to put out, and that hopefully that'll create the environment, like we were saying earlier on, for more people to access support.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Darren. Thank you so much. It's so interesting. I could sit and listen to you talk all day because I just think it's so interesting and such beneficial work. So thank you very much for joining me today. And
Thanks,
if anyone's got any, is it in social media and stuff? Is it the Joseph Rowntree Foundation they need to look for, or is it Hartlepool Action Lab, or is it both?
Yeah, we're Hartlepool Action Lab. Yeah, so we're at HPool Action Lab on Facebook and Twitter, and then obviously there's our website. So with Facebook, Twitter, and website is our main outputs for information, and we have blogs and written pieces that we sort of try to put out, and yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you soon and working with you going forward in the future. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Ta.